Speak on. Hello there. I am Quino.
I am Master Yoda. You can call me Danny.
This is Quino and Danny Insight. As a continuation of what I've been doing over the last 2 weekends with Derek, we're beginning what's probably an even more natural relationship, Quino and Danny. So I've known Derek for a little bit, and if you've been tuning in, you can tell we've got a really cool chemistry. We're having a lot of fun recording that.
How long have you known me?
My entire life. So I don't know if you can beat that. We'll be having some more guests join me as...
Anyone older than you, Eric, could beat that.
Yeah, but it'll match that. But basically, I'm going to do some episodes with family. I'm going to be doing regular episodes with Danny every week. And we're really excited to have you tune in, to have you be a part of that, to let you in on our dynamic, our conversation, what we're learning, what we're experiencing, and obviously how we feel about it. We're going to be passionately sharing it with you, with all the excitement in the world, all the love in the world. Hopefully you can get some insight from our insights and put them into action, and then come and tell us how it's working for you. That's what would make us really excited.
Definitely come and tell us, please.
Yeah, there's nothing more encouraging than hearing that this seed has grown into a beautiful tree in your life. Today's subject, confidence. Go ahead.
Make me start. Man. The reason we came up with that, obviously, was we talked earlier. And okay, for those of you who don't know, sorry, my hands are away. We talk a lot about basically everything under the sun, everything possible. And so today we're talking about, in particular, how I've changed over the past year, and I know how he's changed throughout his life. I saw it in him many years ago, but it's like, damn, I feel more confident than I've ever felt in my life. You know, for the first time, I understand what that freaking means. You know, and so we're talking about what a few things. One is the reality that so many people out there really lack confidence. You know, even from the people that you wouldn't expect it, like some of the most beautiful people out there, like supermodels, lacking self-confidence. Why is that? For someone who's a pro at something, a musician, I have so many musician friends that are just outrageous musicians, yet they lack self-confidence. They're always judging themselves. They're always knocking themselves down. You know, as if others around you isn't enough to knock you down. You got to knock yourself down. So, one, why is that such an epidemic? And two, what's the cause? Why is it like that?
Why do some of the people that you would think are least likely to lack confidence swim in doubt all the damn time? Because it's a human condition. It's not actually based on what you look like outside. It doesn't change. It's not relative to your outer beauty, whatever societal standard that is. It just is something that everyone's going to deal with. And if you have something in excess, you're more likely to be nervous about it, even if it's just outer beauty. To the point where you lack confidence when everyone around you would swear it's what you deserve to know you have. If there's something in your life that you are exceptional at, stop hiding behind doubt. Stop hiding behind yourself when you're ready for the world. The world is really damn sure that they're ready for you. Everybody's agreed on it. Stop hiding behind yourself. Stop hiding behind the lie that I'm not enough, the lie that I'm not ready, the lie that you're not going to like me. Don't worry about that. Real confidence comes from knowing who you are.
You said the key words on the I am this, I am that, I am the other. For me, that's what marked the biggest difference in my life, was when I finally understood what that meant. Okay, I'm not telling you about that. Sorry, guys. It was about a year ago, and I was watching a video online, and it touched the topic of that, and it struck a chord with me. Understanding the concept, or the scripture where it says not to use the Lord's name in vain. Okay, we've all heard that, and everyone's afraid to do it, as if a big old lightning bolt's going to strike down. God damn it! And everyone, it's funny because I do it as a social experiment where I'll randomly tell someone that, talking about this subject, And I'll be like, God damn it! And they all react and they all kind of do this thing like, God's listening and he's going to strike us down. But in giving it thought, logical sense and studying the word, obviously, where it says not to use the name in vain is in Exodus, 10 Commandments. That's where it's at, And if you back up from there, it makes sense to go backwards in time, not the names we have for God, because G-O-D is a letter, 3 letters composed in the English language. That's how we identify what we know as God. It's G-O-D. But what did God himself say his name was? If he's going to say not to use it in vain, it stands to reason that at some point he said what his name was, which just happened to be in the same book a little bit earlier in talking with Moses. And Moses said, who shall I say sent me? And God says, this is my name. This is how I shall be known forevermore. I am that I am. So if you connect the dots, which makes perfect sense, he says his name is I am, that I am. He says that's his name forever, and then says don't use it in vain. So several of the comments Quino mentioned a minute ago, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not that, I can never do this, I suck. That is the perfect example of using the Lord's name in vain. Stop doing it. Okay, that explanation of that commandment makes sense because it applies and it totally transforms. It transformed my life, and I know it could transform your life. And you don't even have to believe in God in the same context that I believe in God, but understanding that his name is I am, and understand, don't use it in vain ever. Okay? Because the last thing Quino said, who are you? Knowing who you are that's the start of confidence, okay? But who are you, and what do you have to say about yourself? Okay, that's the second part, because what you have to say about yourself determines who you are, and who you are will ultimately determine what you do in life. So don't use the Lord's name in vain. I mean, if you want to, you're more than welcome to. But if you need to break some cycles in your life, maybe it's because you're saying stuff about yourself that is not true. They're lies. Made up by your own mind. It's the stories we tell in our brains. But that's the start. Once you start to realize who you are, what your true nature is, and once you start that question and that journey, you start to align yourself with what your purpose is, what your passion is, what you were put here to do. When you start connecting those dots, I'm sorry, but ain't nothing going to knock you down. That's true confidence, because you have the certainty and determination and passion and drive that nothing's going to stop you from doing the thing that you most want to do, the thing that you love most. And it could be simply tending to an organic little garden in your little 10 acres, and you're providing to some local farmer markets, and that's your passion. But guess what? You're filling a need. You're filling a niche. You're feeling there's people hungry for food that's not going to freaking kill us. So whatever that niche is, do it. And with doing it, you get confident.
Totally agree. Without that action, you're not going to be able to build up the confidence that you can see bearing result, bearing fruit. Because you're going to have consistency to get to know what real confidence feels like. Confidence for a day is not real confidence. And real confidence can't last if it's misplaced in some value outside yourself, in something outside yourself. If you have confidence in a thing you own, or in some skill that you have, or some behavior you have, or some person you're in a relationship with, it is bound to fall at some point. The cards are not that stable. The house of cards is gonna fall because you've chosen to make it out of cards. You chose it to make it outside of yourself. Outside of ourself, and I'm saying these words very specifically, outside of ourself, outside of myself, everything I set up is temporary. It will fall. The lesson is, inside of myself is eternal. What I built there is like built on stone, to use the metaphor. It's going to last beyond the wind, beyond the rain. It comes in tides and everything in our life. What beats up on the wall of this, this shell makes everything temporary because it attacks. And we are bound, because this is bound, the body's bound in time. We are bound to see it decay over time. Things just decay in the physical world in time. But these thoughts, these ideas, they don't decay. They're as new when you learn them as when someone else learns them. They're brand new. They're a seed that grows in you in someone. So a good idea, like someone If someone was so kind as to do this at a young age, to plant in you that you are loved no matter, regardless of what you do, without regard to what you do, you are loved, the sooner you can accept that. And I wish that if you did not hear that yet, and it was not planted in your subconscious mind, that it be planted in you as soon as possible. You know that you are totally loved. And you're deserving of love regardless of your behavior. Because that's what the universe does. The universe loves you. So you feel this love that your behavior doesn't say I'm deserving of it. But out of your sheer being, you're just surrounded by it. You're tended to by everything around you, every situation, every possibility, every person around you. And you have absolutely nothing to stand on if you want to make the argument that you shouldn't be confident. If you want to make the argument and take the stand and own on to, I'm in doubt, and this doubt is comfortable, just let it go. It's not pretty. It doesn't feel pretty. It feels like hell on earth. But confidence, real confidence, grounded in who you are, in the wholeness of your being, which is actually just really, really simple. It's stripping away the identity and the attachments, But that simple, wonderful you that's truly you, the most inner you, is totally confident. And it's trying, that higher self is trying to awaken you to why you should be confident, what you've got going on right now.
One of the love is where it's at. You know, love is where it's at. Love, I guess it is, yeah. To understand that word, it's like our English language is slightly deficient in explaining that word and defining that word. So you see it all along throughout society, people misinterpreting the word love. They throw that word around like, you know, it's like any other four-letter word these days. But what does it mean? You know, does it really imply what you're expressing in that moment, the way you're thinking? You know? In the Greek, I love the way, in Greek, it's, you know, anytime you see the word love in the Bible, it's usually, at least in the New Testament, it's derived from different Greek words that are all translated to the one same English word. Okay, and that's where a lot of the confusion comes in. One of them is philos, which is the familial type of love, the way you love a family member, the way I love Quino. He's my nephew. I love him. I would put my life on the line for him. I'd probably give it up too. But every single one of you understand what familial love feels like. And sometimes there's some family members that you're like, but I love you. You know, it's a pretty darn good type of love because it encompasses a lot of stuff. But it's still that type of love. And then you have eros, which is the romantic kind of love. And hopefully everyone out there has experienced that one because it's very passionate. It's very beautiful as well, especially, obviously, when you're with the right person. You know, otherwise it's just lust. That's one of the confusions in the English language where people say love, when in reality it's just lust and nothing more than that. In order for it to be love, you have to understand what love is and resonate a bit higher in that area. But eros is that romantic kind of love. And then you have agape. That's unconditional love, completely unconditional, meaning it requires nothing in return to be received. Okay? Quino doesn't have to do anything to require my love because of philos and agape. Okay? Because he's done some shit in his life. A few things here and there. But I love him, and I have other family members that, despite the shit, I love them unconditionally, you know? So in the right family environment, agape and philos work so well together, and agape and eros works amazing together, because if you're in a loving relationship and you love that person unconditionally, well, you kind of get a holy trinity of what love is, and God does say, I am love. God is love. So going back to the confidence, you have to learn to love yourself. You know, when you come to terms with who you are, I believe you can't help but to love yourself. You know, and it's not being full of yourself and this and that. No, it's don't mistake it with eros love or philos love where people are like, oh, you love yourself. No, it's I unconditionally love myself, meaning I stopped putting conditions on what I need to accomplish or do in order to love myself. Exactly. If you can't love yourself, how do you expect others to love you? Or better yet, others may genuinely love you, but how do you expect to see it for what it is? If you don't truly love yourself, how are you going to see others' unconditional love towards you and see it for what it is? You know, you have to let that love in, okay? And unconditional love shown to another human being, that is God in action, okay? You see someone in need, you see someone going through a hard time and you take the time to share some wisdom, share some love, just be there from just maybe not even say a damn word and just hug them, but hugging from a genuine point of, I unconditionally love you. I'm not hugging you because I want to get with you. I'm not hugging you because I expect something in return. No, because you look like you needed a hug and I was here and I'm a great hugger. I am a great hugger. Yeah. But it's unconditional. Don't expect anything in return. And the more you practice that, and the more you practice it first on yourself, which means accepting all your flaws as they are, period. If you have issues with your exterior, don't even give the exterior a second moment's thought. Focus on the interior. When your interior sees yourself differently, when you begin to see yourself in a completely different light, then all of a sudden you do like I did and lose 80 pounds without ever stepping into a gym or dieting or anything. It's just, I realized I'm not that person. The person that I saw in my mind's eye mirror, like if you close your eyes and picture what you look like, that's not who I am. All right, come on. Like that? Yeah. So, the first thing is knowing who you are. And if you don't know who you are, ask yourself the question, who am I? And here's an interesting one. Get quiet, and then ask yourself, who am I? And then wait for a response. Try it. You notice that silence that was there, that you're like waiting for an answer? Guess what? That's who you are. That is you. Okay? All the chatter that you hear, all the random thoughts, that's not you. Those are the stories you tell yourself. That's the little world you created for yourself. But when you're able to get to that point where you ask, who am I? And you just hear silence, you're like, okay. And if you're okay just being silent, if you're perfectly okay to sit for an hour and just be in silence, both in your mind and exterior, that's a good sign that you're okay with yourself. You're okay with who you are. You don't have to be chattering up in the brain trying to analyze every aspect of your life. You waste so much energy doing that. So, sorry I rambled. You mentioned another thing. Oh, man. Tied into ego towards the end of what you were saying. Remember that part? So, towards the end of what you were saying a minute ago, you started out talking about love and all that stuff, but then you started talking about that's right. You were saying letting go of this, the title, like letting go of worldly stuff, And when you were talking about that, it reminded me of ego, of what it means to detach yourself from your ego, to let that go. I know a lot of people, and I used to have the same mindset where if you told me, oh, you're egotistical, it has such a taboo negative connotation that people misinterpret it and think it's an insult. No, it's a state of being. It's a condition. Humanity is an egoic state, I'll let you elaborate on that one.
Part of what I was referring to earlier is that it is so easy because of our senses and our reliance on our senses, because we've adapted to receive most of our information from 5 senses. It is easy to feed ego, because the ego only knows the world of these 5 senses. The ego only knows how to live by sight, how to live by what it hears, what it's touching. It needs a physical world because it's the only thing that it's getting metrics from, feedback loops.
Everything's interpreted external, even God.
And so whenever everything of yours is external, you're putting your confidence in external things, or you're putting your hopes, your dreams, or your shame is based, or your confidence, the things that inform your confidence, like the way you frame your achievements, are all based somehow around the past and future and around externalities, things that are related to only your 5 senses. Your ego will be fed, and the truest you is being starved of affection, of love, of proper attention, of focus. The true you is going to be perfectly fine, knowing that as long as it can breathe, it's okay. It doesn't need all this other bullshit. But the ego, by golly, does. What is the ego? It's operating in the monkey mind just in your best interest constantly. Don't question it. Don't doubt it. Just know that when you take a step forward, or you decide to eat this, you decide that's a good person to date, or I'm going to work here, this is what I'm going to drive, this is how I'm going to talk, I'm not going to say these things in public places. When you decide all this crap, it's your ego trying to protect you from the worst possible scenario, which has likely been overcalculated, misconstrued, and turned into something that never is existing, never will exist. It is a fantasy that you're living out for yourself in your mind. It's fucking crazy. It's madness. You're not alone. You're so guilty of it. Everybody. The ego feeds these storylines, these narratives in which you're the hero one day and you're the fucking villain the next day.
And you're a victim a lot of the days. Even being a victim is also an ego mindset. So,
Right.
people think ego means, oh, you're just a egotistical one. No, it's just as much ego sitting in your bed eating bonbons
Depressed as shit.
because you feel sorry.
Thinking you're terrible.
Ego is a very broad term that it's more of a philosophical state of humanity.
Oh, we all try to unidentify or
we detach it. It's like, I'm not
no, that's not. I don't have that. I'm not one of those ego ones. Well, I could never say that about myself, but I've heard people say that, and it's like,
and it's okay. We all, we live most of our lives like that. It's every single one of us, and it's a constant battle. And some days you'll be more egotistical, and you'll like a cheat day. If you're watching your diet, watching your
a day to boast.
Yeah, and you have a day. It's like, I'm going to do this for me. I'm going to eat a gallon of ice cream or whatever, or I'm going to go do this. There's certain things that it's okay to. It's part of the ego, doing those things. A complete and utter detachment from ego, you would have to go sit in a cave, for a lifetime, to prove that one. But letting it go, and one of the ways is through love, that unconditional love. The more you unconditionally love every single human being that you come in contact with, when you're able to look at any person, no matter what their condition, and see them through the lens of love, you begin to realize that, one, you're definitely not better than any of them, but also you're not worse. It puts things into perspective. You begin to be quite okay with some circumstances in life. You kind of realize, shit ain't that bad. As bad as you think things are going in your life, you meet someone that's worse off. And sometimes you won't even meet that person if you're too egocentric to even talk to them. Sometimes you walk by and you're like, you're not going to strike up a conversation because you're afraid they're going to mug you or something. You're terrified. Talk to some people. Talk to every person you come in contact with. Make life a social experiment and just ask big questions. Forget small talk. Small talk is bullshit. If you're small talking, it means I don't want to get to know you. I don't care to get to know you. I just want to pass the time just to get to where I need to go later on. If you genuinely want to get to know someone, ask the big questions. What are you passionate about in life? What are your dreams? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Dive in deep with people. I guarantee your relationships are going to be so much better. Okay, you're going to form a lot deeper relationships, more profound relationships. And who knows, you may even actually impact someone's life and help them change their life and inspire them. And who knows, you might meet someone else who changes your life and inspires you. It works both ways. But if you're not connecting with people, learning to love people, connecting with them, like actually asking the big questions, letting go of your, that's a big one, your mindset, your own personal filters, your paradigms, your prejudices, where you're not going to talk to that person because they may have a different philosophical background or spiritual background, religious background. So you don't even strike up a dialogue, a true deep dialogue with them. So you never get to know what it is they truly actually believe. And instead, you believe they believe something, but it's just a belief in your head about their belief. And it's never, just freaking talk to the person from an unconditional love state of being. And you might just realize, they've got a handle on some love too, and you can share, you know what I mean?
I got something. Once you rewire your paradigm on life, what your value system
Don't rewire it, destroy the paradigm.
Well, literally, once your brain gets rewired and your old paradigms are out, and you have neuroplasticity that favors these new patterns of thinking.
Hack the brain.
Yeah, once you've hacked it.
Watching the vision.
Once you've hacked the brain, you have to establish now paradigms. Because you're going to have a paradigm about life, right? A framework you're constantly working with. The paradigm has to be this. It has to be built on getting better. It has to know that you have more potential. It has to know that whatever you're standing on from this point forward is true. Like, I'm seeking to be on the side of truth. So if we're talking about your confidence, you're not going to allow yourself to assume just a bullshit confidence, something that's sitting on sand.
Rules.
Yeah, built on bullshit rules like, I'm good because I have this job, or I'm good because I come from this family. No, it's like, who are you? But you know that. So you're going to decide you're going to build everything on truth. And if you're building it on truth, one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking earlier is, if I have love in place, but I have a paradigm in which I love myself, but it ends with myself, like I get to the point where I truly love myself, but I don't replicate this anywhere else. I'm literally just serving myself. That's empty. You'll have absolutely no fulfillment in life. And so your confidence will then not necessarily be built on external things, like I was saying earlier, but it'll be built on only internal things that have not yielded you any connection with the rest of mankind, any connection with the environment, with the world, with the animals. You're not going to feel like you participated. You're going to feel very alone. You're going to feel like an imitator, estranged, like an orphan, separated from society. You might be driven to do something violent. If you are connected in love, you don't do violent things. If you're connected in love, you don't reach out in hatred towards humanity. Once you learn that language of love that Danny has been talking about, that's it. You are now fluent in mankind's most natural language, most instinctual language, which is the language of emotion. It oozes off of you when you walk into a room, whether or not you know it. People read each other so easily without ever noticing or understanding or even being able to put in words why they feel what they feel about somebody else. It's because your heart is radiating electromagnetic energy unlike any of your other organs on a whole different level. And mine is picking it up. So if you walk in a room, yeah, I'm going to know it right away before my brain even has time to process it with logic. And it does so pretty quickly, but it's not as fast as the heart. It's like the truest line, the most straight line, the narrowest path. In distance is so, it really makes, you can actually practice sending this kind of love to someone in the other side of the world, and I think we'll have the exact same impact. But the fact that it moves so quickly and that it shortens the distance between us, even when we don't see each other physically, it's one of those things that people have experienced, written about, sang about, told their children about, made stories about, made all kinds of stuff up about over time because they've noticed it just like we noticed it now. It's something very real. It's the power of the heart. And if you want to have real confidence, you've got to know that. You've got to know that what you're carrying when you walk into a room, whether or not your words are going to be in line, whether or not you have, the game down, if you do not walk in with your heart in the right place or with the confidence down here, and that you know it in here, if you don't know it in all your chakras, somebody's going to figure it out. And usually everybody figures it out because you're not convinced. So you're the first one to give it away. But once you're convinced, when you're in alignment about who you are, when you're in alignment about why you are, what your purpose is, when you get passionate about that, it goes out before you. It literally opens up the doors for you. You meet someone and instantly they understand what you're about. So even if you say things that they might even find offensive, if they can read down into you and see that, oh, this is a person, this is a good person. They did this or said this, but I can tell they're a good person. If you ever heard that about yourself, it's because you're putting out the energy before you're actually saying or doing the things that the energy's in line with. But when you're all in line, when everything's lined up, it is insane. There's going to be repercussions.